Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. We're gonna kick it old school today, and we are gonna make a fun, fast, and frugal card. I'm using this gorgeous stamp from Lost Coast Designs, and I'm friends with the owner, so she gives me a 15% off discount code for you guys, and I'll put that in the video description. I'm not an affiliate, I don't make anything off the sale, but if you want to grab some stamps, you can save some money. And also, this isn't sponsored, I'm just having some fun. I picked up this stamp at the stamp show this year, and I thought it'd be a lot of fun to do a watercolor card with it. I'm using a stamp mount called a Mega Mount from Impression Obsession, and I like it because if you're using a stamp without foam, like look at that impression, it's so pretty, so crisp. If you're using a stamp without cushion on it, by having that curved mount, it lets you make really good pressure because you curve it, so only like one layer of stamp is getting pushed to the paper at one time instead of it being flat, and then it's hard to get pressure in the middle. So I really recommend this if you do a lot of big stamps or you have a lot of background stamps. It is pricey, it's like 25 bucks, but it's been money well spent. I lent it out once and I immediately regretted it because I forgot how much I relied on that for really good background images. So I will leave an affiliate link to that because that's over at Impression Obsession, where I am an affiliate. They're also really nice folks over there too. So I am going to use Thank and the U, and this set is from Hampton Arts, and I use this a lot. It's probably my favorite sentiment stamp currently. It is, and I got it on clearance for a couple bucks, but even the set for 10 bucks I think was a pretty decent deal. I'll just give you a look at that. Let me just put a piece of paper underneath it so you can see. So you've got the bold script words, and then you have outlines. So if you wanted to do that in color, you could do that in black and outline it. And there's, for all you do, it's your day, congratulations, you're the best, happy birthday, enjoy your day. So there's a lot of different occasions you could use this for, from new baby to birthday to thank you, best wishes, thinking of you, that sort of thing. So that's a favorite. The ink I'm using is VersaFine Clear because it is waterproof when you dry it. You could also use Ranger Archival, and that would work really well. And the size of my hot press watercolor paper I'm using is 5x7, and I will be trimming it down just a smidgen for a 5x7 card, so I'll have a little bit of a border. I am going to heat set this just to make sure it is dry before we begin watercoloring. Okay, I don't even see ink on my finger. Well, I guess I got a little there. So I managed to get a little smudge here and there, but I think once I get the watercoloring on, it's not going to be a big deal. I'm going to use this set of watercolors I picked up on Amazon. I'd seen them advertised on Instagram for like, it was crazy, $60 to $120. It was unreal. And so I looked for them on Amazon. I found them for $19, and they're wonderful little paints. I could see why, why some places are charging more for them. But if you did see these on Instagram and you wanted them, definitely buy them on Amazon because you are going to save a lot of money if you do that. So I'm just doing some like yellow ochre here. I'm not going to worry about being absolutely in the lines. I want this to be really, I want my watercoloring to be loose, and that way my my like stamping will really be the star of this, and it will have kind of like a bohemian type of feel to it. I'm using the brushes from Jane Davenport, with the little mermaid tails, which are actually really fun for jelly printing because you can kind of use the tail ends to scrape into your jelly plate. And I've also used the scrapers to scrape into watercolor paper too when I've wanted more of a when I've wanted kind of those scratchy lines, like I'm doing grass or something like that. The paper I'm using is it is by Fabriano. It is the Hot Press Studio. It's not very expensive, which I really like because watercolor paper can be really expensive, especially if you're buying hot press because it's not as popular. So if you are looking for a good stamping watercolor paper, I recommend that. I'm just using the 90 pound here because I'm going to put it on a card, like a heavyweight cardstock. So if you do want to use the paper for the card base, like you just want to fold the paper in half, then go for the 140 pound. It's not that much more money, but it's actually about the same price, but you get fewer sheets. So the pack that I get is 75 sheets for, I don't know, like 20 bucks or something. So the 140 pound would be 50 sheets. So it just depends on how much you're going to use and how important it is for you to have that heavier weight paper. I typically don't make the card bases with my with my watercolor paper, I mean, I do buy some pre-made card bases out of watercolor paper, but I generally will use them as a layer because cardstock is cheaper. And so I'm going to add a different red for these flowers on the outside. And I'm just being really quick about it. I mean, this really is a card you could make up in no time. Look at these little flowers up here too. So I'm doing some stuff, not really detailed, but kind of precisely colored, but then I'm going to be adding on some like speckles and whatnot just to give it a little bit of flair. Because I feel like this should be really kind of bohemian. Okay, I think I want to do, I like this green, but I really don't see another good opportunity for it right now, so maybe I'll just wait and use that in the background. I think I'll do the feathers in purple. We have another purple here. I think it's there, maybe. Nope, that's like an ultramarine type of blue. I'll get a little bit of that in there. Where's that other purple? It must be here. These colors are really transparent, so it's hard to see how they, you know, what they really look like from the little swatches. So there are little swatches down the bottom of each of these little discs that come out. So I would recommend that that you make a swatch. And I did that, but I just don't have it handy right now. I left it upstairs. Okay, now I think maybe I'll go with, there's a pretty Payne's gray color here. I think maybe I'll do the outside of the Dreamcatchers with that because it does have some nice blues in it. It's almost like an indigo. There's no black in the set, which I like as a watercolorist. So, you know, if you're stamping with black, you know, all the colors are really going to show up on it. Okay, so if you want to do any shading, you could definitely do that with your paint. Just choose a darker color. And I would try to put it kind of like under the flowers and on the edges and maybe in the recesses of the nose. And now I just want to kind of flick on some water and add some color. I really liked the red. I want to get around the edges so when I mount this on my cardstock, I will have a pretty, I'll have a nice border. Get some of that nice green in there. And with watercolors, if it's too dark, add water to it rather than adding white, and that way your stamping will stay vibrant and show through. Maybe a little bit of this blue. And that way, if you had any mistakes in your coloring or anything that you didn't really like the way that it turned out, it will kind of just fade into the background. And you can use any watercolors you have for this. If you don't have watercolors, you could scribble your markers on a, you could scribble your markers on like a stamp block and pick up the ink with a brush and do the same thing. I think I want to put a little bit of that yellow ochre in there. And, you know, you can add as little or as much detail as you want. If you want to go in and add a little more red to these flowers, you can. But I would try to let the stamp be the star because it's a really pretty stamp, and you know, you want to enhance it but not kind of like overtake it. There. And so now I need to let that dry and then we can make our card. While the card's drying, let's make an envelope. So I have a trick to making an envelope when you have an oddball size card, and I actually trimmed my card so it wasn't exactly 5 by 7. So I ended up with a, the way that I trimmed it down because I wanted it to work with what I had made, I ended up having a 5 1/4 by 6 3/4 card. So what you do when you have an oddball size card is you measure corner to corner, and this is 8 1/2 inches, and you add 1 inch, so you'd have 9 1/2 inches. Then you cut a piece of scrapbook paper to 9, and so you add 1 inch, so it's 9 1/2 by 9 1/2, and that's what I have here. So then what I'm going to do is I am going to turn the paper so that it is kind of like that, kind of away from me. And actually I'm going to flip it over because I want the pattern to be on the outside. And then you take your card base and you just kind of center it up and you fold in all the sides. Now I like to scoot it over just a little bit so I have a little bit of extra space, but I don't really find that the envelopes are too tight, especially when you're doing a flat card like this, and you're gonna fold up your bottom. And you know, you can move that up just a smidgen if you want and fold down the top. And that's how you make a card without a template for any size card. You make an envelope without a template rather. And now I'm going to cut out the corners for the top side so it looks a little bit more professional. And there you have it. I usually use a bone folder to fold down the paper, especially if it's thick, but this stuff is so thin that I really don't feel like I need to. I'm going to trim off that edge. And then I just put my adhesive right along these edges, and then just fold the bottom up. And then I would put either adhesive on the top when I close it, or I just put a little bit of like a score tape along the edge and not pull the backing off until I'm ready to mail it. So there we have a very cute envelope. All right, so let's grab our card base back again. I did somehow manage to get ink on this. I don't know, I should have stopped and washed my hands, but I'm not going to worry about it. And I think I want to ink the edges to make it a little sharper. I'm going to go back to that same ink that I was using. And just give it a nice little border. Don't worry if it's not perfect and you get a smudge or something, because it's artsy, it's boho, don't worry about it. And I am going to just grab my scrap paper here to put some adhesive down so I don't get any more stray ink on my card front. When I do a watercolor card or a really wet technique, I like to put a lot of adhesive on the back just to keep it from warping, because sometimes it will warp. Also, if I'm doing like an embossed background, I do the same, like a pressure embossed background. And just center that up. And that's all there is to it. And here we have it with our adorable little envelope. And I think that is such a cute card, and perfect for a quick little thank you or thinking of you note. And look at that. See, it works. Isn't that crazy how that little formula works? So there you have it. Thank you so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Until next time, happy crafting.